There we go. I think we're live. So this is our first Paranormal Perspectives Q&A session. So you just bear with me. I'm just going to check a few links because I'm kind of running this myself at the same time with my friend Christine. So bear with me. It's going to have to share a few things around. Love your cat, Christine.
It's Theo.
Theo.
Theo, yeah. He's very old now, aren't you? Mm, yeah.
There you go, Christine. I'll just send you the link
Do I have to go
in
there?
case you need it. You can, there you go, just send it on your messenger thing. So if you want to share it, it's up to you anyway, whether you want to share it with me. So we're just going to go from there.
Right,
So
okay.
yeah, so everyone, if anybody's watching at all, even thanks for being here. This is our first session, and we don't know how this is going to go just yet, though. So we'll just see. This is our sort of experimental phase. We've done a lot of pre-recorded conversations about the paranormal, and had such an amazing opportunity, really, to speak to some amazing people. We've spoken to actors, mediums, social media influencers, office workers. Even my sister has been on this at some point, and yeah, like speaking to people like Billy Cook and Malcolm Robertson very recently, been amazing. And recently, we've been extending the conversation to other people. Other people that aren't really experts like myself, really, who have experienced things that they can't explain. And we're really here just to normalize the conversation about the paranormal, and almost treat it as something with respect, and to not be feared, basically, to not fear knowing the unknown and having that conversation. So with me, as always, I have my friend and medium, Christine, who's been with me for many, many episodes and is a very patient person as well. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
No, fantastic, thank you. And
Excellent.
yeah, so anybody watching as well who was expecting this to be on TikTok, there seems to be a technical issue with TikTok at the moment, so this is just live on YouTube for now, and we'll try again on TikTok next time round. For now, hopefully you're finding us, and please feel free to ask any questions. So just to give you an idea of who we are, I'm a medium myself. Christine's a medium. We've spoken to many different people about many bizarre things. We've learned lots of things on the way, so feel free to ask us any questions. And hopefully the chat will be here. I don't even know where to find it on this platform, actually. It's not going to be so great. So it could be just simply like leaving comments on YouTube itself. So yeah, so let's get this started. Right. Okay, so our live chat's open. Cool. So yeah, so basically, for people that maybe are joining us quite, as quite new to our journey, really don't know who on earth we are. Love to simply just introduce ourselves, really. So Christine, if it's okay, like it'd be great to know, just remind people who you are, and some interesting facts about you.
I'm 100 years old, and I'm an old lady that lives with her cats in Peterborough, Cambridgeshire, and I like ghost hunting. I like visiting stone circles. I like everything to do with the paranormal. Have done for years. Yeah, I'm a medium too, and that's really about it. About me, I'm not that interesting really, but
You are.
I have a great love for the paranormal.
Oh yeah, same here. I'm called Stan currently. My legal name is Kieran Mace. Stan is my middle name, which is Stanislav, the same name my granddad was given. I'm just going by Stan now, just because I prefer it, really. Don't ask me exactly why. It's just a simply a preference thing, really. So my friends call me Stan, basically, is what I say. So yeah, in the daytime, I'm a graphic designer. Been a designer for about 15, 16 years. So lots of experience making flyers, websites, video work, motion graphics. I've been doing a bit of audio, sonic branding, as they call it nowadays, for all sorts of companies over the years. And it's a fun day job, but really there's, alongside that passion, I've always been passionate about the paranormal, really, since I was a young age, really, because I'm pretty much a reluctant acceptor of the paranormal. Um, due to following a few scary situations when I was younger, I was thrust into encountering essentially entities that I can't quite explain, seeing some very strange poltergeist activity, and tried to deny it for many years. And one day just had no choice but to accept it because I used to be afraid to talk about it. So this is why we do this kind of thing. It's just like not being afraid to talk about the things that we don't know. So yeah, I mean, fun facts about me. I mean, it's up to you to debate as to whether they're fun or not. I mean, the fact is, can't drink very much milk. I'm quite allergic to it, though I can have very small amounts. I'm slightly lactose intolerant. I'm short-sighted. The funny fact, and I just love listening to listen to a lot of metal music. Really, like I know Christine, you're into like, would you say like trance or rave music? Is that the right thing to say?
Absolutely. Yeah, raving, all of that. No, I think, I try and listen to music without prejudice. I mean, I love Pink Floyd, um, um, Freddie Mercury, Queen, but also like
Naturally,
yeah, I like trance music. Equally, I love classical music. I think they've all got their
yeah,
I don't like rap. I really don't like rap. Um,
yeah.
that's just me, maybe because I'm old.
Not even walk this way. Like when Aerosmith did that song with Run DMC.
There is there's some nice ones, but it's not where I would gravitate towards. Willie Nelson, you know what I mean?
Mm,
We're going
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, I love music. Don't have enough of it in our lives. We should have it piped into our homes.
You should do. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I've really been into metal for many years. I mean, I'm also really into classical, but you could argue that metal is just very heavy classical music because it's the same instruments but electrified. Think about it that way. So I used to listen to classical growing up, and yeah, it's kind of music that was pumped into my primary school. I think we were part of this test many years ago where they were experimenting with the theory that playing a certain kind of music can influence a certain kind of thought with young children.
Oh God,
We didn't really know it very much at the time, but we found out after. But yeah, they used to play very loud classical music when we were waiting in assembly before things to start there, and it helped us to keep calm. And it was a very artistic school actually, and but that kind of got me into classical really. And but I always love a bit of Debussy. The song Claire de Lune,
all right,
one of the
yeah,
most beautiful songs ever written. If you know, if you know, like yeah, that piano beginning, that soft, it just
yeah,
reminds me of summer.
yeah.
I love listening to metal. I mean, I used to be a really big fan of Anathema or Anathema for years, but they sadly split during the pandemic. But they reformed into a new band called Weather Systems, so it's just pretty much the same band but with a different name. So
Now
I'm a
see,
really big fan of Tesseract as well. Like I love Daniel Tompkins, the singer.
you have
Um,
me at a disadvantage, and it's probably because 'cause you're so young. I don't know who you're
I'm not that young.
talking about. I really haven't heard of these people because
Have you? I need to introduce you to some real metal now. I know you're into trance though, but maybe trance metal, maybe.
trance metal, that's interesting. I have I I have, classical on in the car, and I've been known to go a different route just so I can listen to the end of a track or pop
Yes.
up and get really into it. Yeah. Have we got any questions coming in yet?
We've
Is
got
there
a couple
anybody
building up there, but I'm going to start rolling through them one by one and just kind of letting them build up. So yeah,
um,
no one's making fun of us yet anyway, so that's a good start. I mean, I wouldn't blame them, quite frankly, but that's fine.
maybe this is a
So
time
basically,
to say, "Is there anybody there?" After all,
yeah,
it's all about the paranormal, isn't it? And,
exactly. So, well, anybody that's here at the moment, I see a few people have joined. Feel free just to throw a question in the chat. Just ask us anything about the paranormal.
we
So
won't
yeah, we'll do
know.
our best to answer. I mean, we don't know everything, but we've been involved in this for quite some time, really. So
Yeah.
yeah, you, Christine, has been with me since I think we started this on Midsummer's Day last year. Actually, this was like a midsummer creation, really.
Well,
So
that's
since
very significant.
recording,
That's
it
significant,
is.
isn't it? Yeah, a
Yeah, the
very
energies were really good that night. Actually, it felt like the perfect time to start something quite special, really. And we definitely
oh,
did that.
yeah, I'm all for all of that. I think we need to get in touch with those kind of things. Like I said, with the music, I think music came about as a form of healing before it became something.
Definitely. It's vibration.
Yeah, it's about
Vibration is energy, and we resonate as we speak.
absolutely. And we resonate at a certain level, but there are beings that resonate at different levels, and
Yeah,
they're no less than us. And this is what paranormal perspectives doing this year has taught me is cat fur. How normal it is and what wonderful people are experiencing stuff. You know, they're credible people. For too long, the paranormal has been laughed at as being something that,
yes.
weird people. And you know what? It's not. It really isn't. We're scared of it because we don't understand it. We like to be scared. We get spooked. Um, but it's, I think if we understood it, more. And that's why Paranormal Perspectives and all the other wonderful podcasts that are out there spreading the word. We're not nutters. We're just normal people having extraordinary experiences.
That's it. Because I really, I've said it many times, and I'm going to send you to sleep, Christine. But I just want to break apart the misnomer that
Yeah,
this the word paranormal ultimately is a misnomer. It's something we place upon something it doesn't quite fit because
yeah.
it's parallel to normal. But who decided what is normal? And we use the word paranormal as almost as an excuse. It's just like, oh yeah, it's just it's when something goes wrong. For example, you'll blame somebody else. You won't go, okay, maybe it was me. Maybe this is something I can learn from. When we say paranormal, we're almost addressing something that we don't understand as a fault,
I mean,
and then we just walk away with fear.
I think we're missing something. Uh, um, this should be something that's studied academically. You know, I know people
It
do
is
bits of this,
amazingly, it is now more so.
but you know, I think the word I'm looking for is seriously,
Hmm.
forensically examine things. All us ghost hunters, don't just take it as, oh, I heard a voice or I heard this. Forensically analyze it, get a body of evidence together.
Yes.
Because we're all, all over the place, we should be bringing all that good stuff and sharing it without having any sort of agenda other than to, make this thing normal. If Does that
Oh,
make sense?
definitely, definitely. Yeah, 'cause I just get excited talking about these things because, like, for me growing up, because the reason why I tried to ignore it so much was because I was so scared of it. I was so scared to talk about it to my social group because that would lead to the stigma association of people just making fun of you, or just it'd be another reason for bullies to kind of come running after you, quite frankly.
Yeah,
But the
it's
more
just
I've talked to people, the more I've felt more comfortable with this, basically, and I realize actually it's a beautiful thing to be appreciated, and it's only scary because we're told that it's scary, basically. Like, it's as simple as that. It's
absolutely.
the moment you actually see it, like
I
it's
mean,
a beautiful, beautiful thing.
BBC Two, a couple of nights ago, I was watching the Amityville. Um, everybody remembers Amityville, and there were some pretty horrific things going on there. And of course, all these years later now, we know that it wasn't all what it was made out to be. But underlying that, there was real evil, and that was happening around, within the family dynamics and stuff like that. Um, you've got more reason to be scared of that than you have of the paranormal. Um, but yeah, again, it's something that's you take something like that, and we watch it on Hollywood. I mean, we devour it, and we get scared by it. And I've never in my interactions with spirit as a medium and as a person, I've never ever been scared in the sense of evil. Um, I think if you deal with the good, you go with good intentions, that's what you get back. Absolutely.
Oh, definitely. And I think it links into kind of the first question, really. So I'm going to go for we've had some kind of pre-asked questions. We also have kind of some live questions, though. But I'm going to go with Siobhan's comment. So yeah, thank you for Siobhan for commenting. So I know Siobhan's one person we spoke to a little while ago on our earlier episode. So her question is, what's the scariest paranormal experience you've had? aside from interviewing Siobhan, I say. So what's the scariest experience you've had anyway? And a kind of almost is the opposite of what you just said there a moment ago. Actually, I quite like the question.
Scariest. I think it was again, we talked about this on a podcast when we were in Krakow. I sensed, a
Hmm.
real, um that did scare me. For people that haven't heard it, we were in Krakow. We were actually in our apartment, and there was a real presence or sense of something very unpleasant there. But historically, it was a former ghetto where the Jewish people were put, and they were living under hideous, as we all know, hideous circumstances. The evil I felt had been left there by a stain on the place, and yes,
Yeah,
that was scary. Um, to go to bed and feel that you were being watched and you had grown men, um, crying, um, it was a very, very strange place. Yeah, that was probably my most frightening one.
yeah.
What
I
about
can get
you?
that completely. Like
What about
because
you?
feelings just like saturate places and they just stay there, and you can really feel it. Like,
Absolutely.
and that's more of a that maybe it's like a psychic thing, just on the base level, really, that you're just absorbing that what had been lived before. Like, and
Mhm.
I know your full story there anyway. It's in one of our previous episodes. I forget which number episode it was. It was about 3 or 4 episodes ago. It was
Yeah,
yeah, it was the messages we leave behind. I think it was that
yeah,
episode. But anyway, but in terms of like my scariest experience, a few things. Yeah, I hate to say. I mean, this is like a really personal thing, and it's something I'm also I've been outletting it. I've been writing a book for a while, and it's yeah, been finalised now, and hopefully it'll be out later this year, early next year, called Paranormality, and it all kicks off when I was run over by a car. Put it quite bluntly, without going into detail, I had a yeah an out of body experience. Where I walked around the hospital despite my body being quite badly damaged, like, not enough to be able to walk, basically. I was completely, obliterated, and at some point, I managed to fall asleep. At least I thought I was asleep, and, I realized I could stand again. I thought, "Actually, this feels a bit more real than I thought," because I could touch, I could smell, I could sort of see what was around me, but the world was a bit different. Something just seemed a bit strange, so I just started to walk, thinking, "Okay, well, where's my mum? Why isn't anybody helping me? Why can I walk again?" I went from room to room, trying to get the attention of the nurses by, pulling at their clothing.
yeah,
They just wouldn't respond to me, and I remember kind of looking at my friend, through this, doorway that um at that time, I didn't know him anyway, because I just arrived at the hospital, but he eventually became like a long-term friend in that hospital. Yeah, I was trying to get the attention of this kid because I just had a feeling that that kid should know me or something, but he was looking at me directly, and, at least I thought directly, but seeing through me, and I just continued to walk. And as I reached the end of this hallway, I walked into this storeroom with this. It just had the most horrifying feeling of like I don't know if you know what I mean, Christine. Like when you've been in haunted places, but imagine a room that's completely and utterly empty, and you can see it's empty, you can hear it's empty, you know it's empty, but it feels like it's full at the same time. It's like it's a whole crowd is in there, and is a weird feeling in itself. But in this room, that there were all these holes in the wall, and I could feel like a presence there, like something was in there that was massive, but I couldn't see it. And at that point, like it's like reality began to kind of break away, and this thing was there, like it knew me. It felt like I felt like I knew it, and it knew me. It was so old and indifferent to my existence, even like it was like, yeah, you're here, so what? And it's almost like I joined with it for a moment, and it catapulted me like all over the place. It was quite a horrifying experience because it's like an overload. It's like imagine a computer like being overloaded with too much information. Like it's almost like you set the power too high and it just explodes with flames. If that makes sense, it's too much, you know. But through this experience, I was shown different places and almost like different universes, even. But one particular point, I landed in this alleyway, and it was ultra hyper real. I could see every last little crack in the ground, and the wire mesh fencing either side. I could see some teenagers looking around as if they thought something was there. It was kind of like I landed, like as if I was flying. I kind of landed there for just that moment. And I looked around thinking, okay, well, this is a bridge, but it's over water. This is strange. It's like almost like a lake. And then I just zoomed back to the hospital again. And I woke up a few days later after having numerous very serious operations. And I woke up in immense pain, like wires stuck into me. I had like metal like drilled into my bones, and it was like, yeah, basically I physically couldn't move. But yeah, I had a memory of just a few moments ago of just walking all over the place. It was only till like a few weeks after that that this nurse put me into a wheelchair and took me around the hospital. And the weird thing was, I knew exactly where to go. I was telling the nurse to turn left at this corridor, right at this corridor, keep going. Eventually, there was the room. It was the room that I met the entity in, and I was horrified. Then I just had this freak out because I realised that I was alive, but but not in my body. And it's an experience that horrified me then and did for many years later because I can't explain how that's possible. And I tried to ignore it, but I had first-hand evidence of like existing beyond your physical form. But also, it's the thing that I met. I I I don't know if it was death itself. It was some evil entity. I can't say if it was evil. I don't. It didn't feel like it was good either. It just felt like it knew me, and that was it. But yeah, after that experience, and I'm not sure if it was the same entity or if it was one that was in the hospital at the time. I went home to heal eventually and just continue that process of learning to walk again and all that la di da. I was pursued by this entity that would sit in my room at night. I'd be crying and having night terrors. I was a little kid, of course, to remind you, and this thing would be in my room at night as I cried, and like it just wouldn't leave me alone. And I couldn't bring the words together enough to say what it was that I was seeing. And yeah, this thing pursued me for many years, and it was part of this poltergeist activity that I saw in the house, and it affected my emotions, affect the emotions of people around me, and this thing was nasty. And the pinnacle of this is my friend Penny, who was on our third episode or second episode. But Penny the medium, like bless her, like she's another amazing friend. Long story short, she discovered me, told me she was a medium. I didn't know what a medium was back then, etc., etc. But I was in a situation where this thing was really like ruining my life, basically. Like it was like terrorizing our family, quite frankly. And she was there to help. She said, "Look, okay, just trust me." And she had one almighty fight with this thing. It just wouldn't leave her alone. It was insulting her, hissing, it was throwing items at her. Like I'm not joking. I'm literally telling you this honestly. It's up to you whether you believe that or not, though. But I know what I know. And after the experience happened, I stopped having all these nightmares. I stopped seeing this thing around me. I felt better of myself. So she was able to, I don't know, scare it away or separate us. I don't know what it was though. But the amazing thing was like this thing. I never described what I saw all my life until that thing left. I felt like if I could finally talk about it, and I asked this lady like, "What did you see? You said you could saw it." And she described it in as much detail as she could. As exactly the being that I saw. It was the being that was there when I was at the hospital and that followed me for many years later. It's something of like very dark. I call it like burnt flesh. It was like textured. It's like it was so dark though, but not so dark that you couldn't see what it was made of, and just very large white glowing eyes. Um, sounds a bit like the film The Conjuring, that kind of thing. Although The Conjuring itself was based on the true stories of Lorraine Warren and was it Lorraine and John Warren? But yeah, I know these things are possible, and that's the scariest thing. It's like, but now I'm less scared because I talk about these things because I realize that these happen to other people out there, and other people have overcome these things. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you
this thing
can't.
hasn't come back all these years later. I'm free of it for now, thank
Good,
God. And
good, because
yeah, and it's just made me braver all for it, really.
and that's because you took some action. You got that lady helped you out. Uh, the problem is with something that is scaring you, if you don't face it, it's it's always going to be there. And they do
Yeah,
exist. Um, yeah, they absolutely do exist.
yeah, but they love fear, don't they? Like fear is food to them. It's nourishment.
Absolutely, they feed on it. That's what they want. And if you're gonna go into the paranormal, um, if it's ghost hunting, you've never been on one, think about we went to one, a couple of years ago, and people started calling up, the dark forces, and it's like, do you really want to be calling something from the bowels of hell to
It's
come
because I
and
think it's entertainment though, that it's the
get
attitude you have. If you treat it like
get
it's
it,
entertainment, it's quite dangerous.
so you can get it on a camera or get some likes on TikTok or whatever you're doing. Um, you don't muck about with stuff like that. Take it seriously and respect it. Because there are a lot of people out there that are very quick to start doing all that malarkey. You don't want to be playing with it because, like anything, there's good and bad everywhere, and there's good and bad in the spirit world. Different vibrations. You've got the light, you've got the dark. Don't play with it.
Absolutely.
Be sensible. Any more questions?
I'm just reading this through because one thing I forgot to mention as well, as part of our Paranormal Perspectives live and hopefully future episodes too, we're going to do like we're all about doing good anyway, so it's about charity donations. So we just thought we'd just kick things off with a donation funding page for Macmillan Cancer Care, and you'll see no this side actually you'll see a little link here, this QR code. I'm going to paste it in the chat too, and we do all this for free. Basically, we do all this to help other people out, to guide other people, and also to get over our own fears, quite frankly. So, like, if anybody would like to donate any money to our chosen charity at the moment, Macmillan, because Macmillan has been there for a lot of people that I have known over the last few years, in their last few months of their lives, really, to give them a dignified end, basically. And also, obviously, supporting cancer research in itself, which will be kind of future choices, is quite a big thing to many people, really. So, yeah, scan the link, and I'm going to paste the link in the chat. If you just bear with me. But in the meantime, I'll ask Christine a question whilst I type this out there because I'm really slow at typing because I have quite stumpy fingers. So basically, what is your best piece of evidence? So, like, we're talking about more of on a positive level. What's the best piece of evidence that you've seen?
That I've seen. I think
Yeah,
the best bit of evidence is always going to be evidential um, uh, stuff from a medium, a complete stranger that doesn't know you that can give you a piece of information. Quite recently, many years ago, when I was about 15, I went to my first ever spiritualist church, and a medium came to me and gave me loads and loads of evidence. Couldn't take any of it. Went home, told my mum she could take all of it. There was one bit that she couldn't really take, and this medium had told me, don't forget this is a long time ago, that the my grandfather or a great grandfather was a lay preacher in the chapel. And so I told my mum this, and she went, "No, no, I can't take that at all. Can't take that at all." Um, Now this is really bizarre because about 3 weeks ago, I've been doing my DNA, and a lady's helping me do it.
yeah,
And guess what come up? A great grandfather that was I think he was a Methodist lay preacher. Now that's 50 years, must be 50 years, yeah, more than that. I was given that piece of information. When you get something like that, you see, if you see something, you can always say, "Well, no, did you see it? Didn't you?" But when somebody gives you a piece of information that you can't take, and then years later, weeks later, days later, you go, "There it is." You have got to ask yourself, "How the hell did they get that information? Because I didn't know it either." There's no way that that woman could have taken that out of my head because I didn't know that information until 3 weeks ago. That was 50 years ago. She told me that. That's To me, that is the most evidential thing.
yeah. It's quite amazing these moments kind of
Yeah,
link like it's almost out of nowhere. Like suddenly everything just comes together. It could be like a life revelation. It could be something, but yeah, sometimes don't you feel like you're part of a script? Like there are as much of your life where you have free will, but there are moments where everything just seems to come together in a particular way, and it catapults you in a completely new direction. And, usually it's a positive thing,
I
but don't you feel like you're almost guided by something? I don't even know what you would call it really, but is
think
it instinct? Is it something higher?
I think that before we come to this vibration, this incarnation, we're already in spirit. Spirit you know, we were spirit before we became this. Um, we've always existed because we're a vibration. And we decided that we were going to do certain things. And I think there's kind of like a blueprint, and we're going along on this blueprint of our life. And then suddenly we think this is what we want to do. Then all of a sudden we get catapulted down a completely different trajectory. And lo and behold, it's amazing. Something new. So I think there's this blueprint that we've got to do certain things, like, you know, maybe go to university or do this or do that. But there's points where we have choices, or we think we have choices. Um, but do we? Do I think we're guided? I think we are almost always going to be, for instance, you're always going to do the job you do for now. Can you see where I'm going with that? Certain things that we will always
Yeah,
do. I had to have a child. You had to marry a certain lady. Um, but there are times when it all goes completely kibosh. And I think it's then that we're being taken or pushed or, you know, directed. Yeah, something is guiding us. That might be our spirit guide, guardian, whatever you want to call them. Have you ever done something and thought, yeah, that doesn't feel right, and it turns out it really wasn't right? Is it your
yeah,
guide?
and
Is it your instinct? I think it's
that's the thing. That I think you hit, yeah, hit on something there because there are points in my life where, like, I've say quite frankly, I've been quite a failure. Really, like, I've really tried. I mean, I'm a very academic person. I love studying. I work really hard to get towards things, but some things, like some doors, are not welcome. Like I say, some people from my background, basically, some doors aren't welcome for us, basically. But I just keep going, keep going, keep going. And there's one particular thing. For many years, I really wanted to be a graphic designer, and I know it's not the most exciting job in the world to most people, and it isn't like there are jobs out there where you're saving lives and doing incredible things. But design has always been my thing because it's like a puzzle box. It's like, okay, well, there's a few broken elements here, there's a few broken elements here. It could be like, for example, typography, imagery. Okay, this is the concept we want to put together, but we can't quite get this to work. And designer kind of comes along. They're almost like a visual DJ, basically. Like they take all the tracks, like individual tracks could be like a bit of bass, bit of synth, bit of vocals, some kind of backing vocals, and we kind of mix it together and make something work. That's what I've always loved about design. It's like, okay, I'm trying to make sense of the world because previously I've seen some quite extraordinary paranormal things. Sometimes I like to sit in this world and just sit there and just try and be methodical and work through certain things. But that particular career, it's the same for many designers out there. It's very, very hard to get into. So unless you're linked to some very, well-renowned university or an influential family or whatever it might be, you have to really work hard to prove yourself. And yeah, I failed for many years. I went to lots of interviews, and I got really good at interviews at one point. And it got to a point where I was thinking, but why am I not being accepted for these jobs? I have a good body of work behind me now, but I have a great attitude. I feel like I'm really positive, and they just wouldn't. And it got to a point where I almost gave up actually, and decided to take another career path. And my nan, which I used to call Nana Woo Woo, my English grandmother, like she had a real good go at me. She's never used to be somebody who was angry or quite highly emotional. She's very kind of conversational, but very kind of calm and mellow usually. But that's when she warned me. She said, "Okay, don't waste your life." She said, I know you've got this thing. I know you love this thing. And of all the things that you've been through growing up, a kid and all that, you deserve this, and you don't give up on this." My grandmother used to collect snippets of like bee. I used to love reading the Beano, so she used to like cut out my favorite little stories on the Beano and put them into a scrapbook for me. So she used to build them up over time, and they used to be in our local newspaper. She used to collect Wallace and Gromit. It used to be like a little, I think it was like a 12 or 3 month session or whatever it is. Like in this newspaper that was released like every day at the time, they used to do little cartoons of Wallace and Gromit. She used to cut that for me as well and collect them for me. And she said that I'd love you to be one of these people one day, like drawing cartoons and creative things. And so yeah, bless her. So yeah, I didn't give up. And funnily enough, um, more opportunities began to open up, and it was only really until I was invited for this one interview, and I just at the time I thought it seemed too good to be true. I was a graphic designer for this creative media university in Oxford, and it seemed too good. I thought, nah, but they're bound to choose somebody with more experience. And I went through all the logical things of like, I don't have as much experience as people that will be going there. But I thought, okay, something in my gut just told me, just trust it, just go for it. So yeah, I did. And yeah, luckily enough, I went to the interview, and as I arrived at this place, I just had a feeling like everything was going to be okay. It's hard to explain. It's like falling in love. Basically, when you're there, and you just know everything's okay. And I actually looked at this university, and I know it's a bit over dramatic though, but it was like the sun literally had a sun ray coming out of the sky, shooting down onto this
Yeah,
university. And I looked at the building and thought,
that's where you were supposed to go. That's why you said
maybe it's kind of like a video game. We have like a guiding point. Okay, this is where you're meant to go. But I thought, no, this is too good to be true. And as I approached the building, I fell in love with it. It's like this big old, I would say Victorian building. It was beautiful. And I was thinking, I'll be so lucky to work here. This is exactly the kind of place that I would love. I went to the interview, and previously, like, I don't know if anybody here is watching as a designer themselves, but usually design interviews, you tend to have to deal with a lot of snobbery. I hate to say, like, I was rejected so many times, belittled, like insulted even in some occasions. And this time I was going in there expecting to have the same old, rigmarole really, and trying to prove myself and not being taken seriously. But no, man approached me, shook my hand, sat me down, and he just basically simply asked me all about me. He didn't ask me about my background, which school I went to, where I came from. He says, "I want to know you in the here and now. Like, what do you want from your career? What do you want to do for this university? What excites you?" And I kind of answered all that. And as I had the conversation, the campus cat landed on my lap, and I think it's called Commodore at the time. And I'm sorry, the camera's gone a bit funny again. God, this thing's useless. I'm going to get a new camera anyway in the future anyway, but so yeah, the campus cat sat on my lap, and I thought this is really weird. Like, but he continued through the interview, and I just sat with this thing on my lap, and I was thinking, is this odd? Is this normal? But no, like he just spoke to me as a human being the first time, and all these. At that point, I would have gone to about 82 interviews, I'd say, beforehand, and failed all of them. No, this guy talked to me as a human being, and at the end of the interview, shook my hand, and said, "Yeah, really nice to meet you. Really glad you're so honest about how terrible our prospectus is." I was quite blunt about it, as I tend to always be. And yeah, I think about 2 days later, 1 or 2 days later, I got a call from him, and the whole time I knew that I had the job. Like, I didn't have any valid evidence, nothing empirical. It's just simply a feeling of the way he was reacting, responding. He could have done to any interviewee, to be frank. But
I will take
yeah,
you
I
through.
got the job, and my career started. And I just knew. I thought, yeah, it just reminded me, like, I almost setting a standard really. Like, I want to show to other people that struggle to get in, who aren't from an affluent background, you can make your own future. Like, if you want to be a designer or anything else, basically, just ignore all the miserable gits who gatehold you from accessing these things. Just trust your gut instinct. But something was there the whole time. Like, there's a voice in my head saying, "Do it, do it, do it. Trust it, trust it, trust it." And it's almost like a voice actually saying it in my head. But there are some instances in my life where big things happen, and there's a voice in my head telling me something. I've learnt now to listen to it. So whether it's a warning of a bad thing or a positive good thing, I just trust it. So yeah, I mean, they do say, like, scientifically, like, some of the mental brain processing is actually done in your gut. I don't know if you know that, Christine, but technically your gut is like a second brain. That's where we get gut instinct from. Though there is some additional processing where it's picking up certain things and processing it, sending it to the brain.
I absolutely agree. I think, you know, you're picking up. You said the word failed. You didn't fail anything.
Oh no, I felt like I did
Oh,
though.
you must
That's
have
the
done
way you
it
feel.
right. But what you didn't realize when you thought you were failing was that you were actually on that route to that perfect place where you had to be that day because that job was meant for you. And you
Yeah.
didn't fail anything. You got to where you're supposed to go. You just
Exactly. So I wasn't really meant to be in those other places. But yeah, that career set up the rest of my life really. Like, it's not as if getting jobs since then have been easy. They've just been easier or just baseline possible. And like I say, I'm trying to teach other kids that wanted to go into these things that it is possible to not give up. And yeah, I say kind of class shouldn't be in the way of your future. It shouldn't be anything to do with anything really, quite frankly. should always be about your skill, your attitude, what talent you have, and
I
so on.
agree. I
But yeah, but also moving the conversation on as well. I have some other questions kind of preloaded. I've been pre-asked. I think somebody actually did message me through TikTok, and I'm really sorry I didn't make a note of the name though. But they simply said, have you seen a UFO, Christine?"
have I?
Yes.
Yes.
I see your face light up just then.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Yeah, I have. I up until about 3 years ago, I was a bit iffy, I've never seen one because 'cause I'm the type of person, I want to see it. I so want to for it to be real. Um, and I did. I absolutely did see a UFO. I was sitting where I am over there, bright summer's afternoon. My friend John was sat with me, and we're just chatting and drinking coffee, and I glanced out the window and I went, "What the is that in the sky?" And, he jumped up and we both went to the back door, and there was something in the sky. I don't know what it was, but I think it was a UFO. Briefly, it was about the size of a small car. Um, it was like a, circle on its side. It was totally
Mm.
silent, and it came in sharply between, just above the roofs of the houses over there. And it came in, and we were stood watching, trying to get the iPhones out, and it moved so quickly. It came in so smooth, took a sharp right, and then it just, and we just looked at each other, and I said, "I think we've just seen a UFO." So yeah, I have seen one, and it's shifted my thoughts on that because I've seen one now.
Yeah.
And I'm really
This
glad
isn't
I
it?
saw it. I'm really glad I saw it. Was not a drone before anybody says, "Oh, it was a drone." No, it wasn't a drone. You don't get drones that big. Um, and it made absolutely no noise. That was the interesting part. It was like it was almost gliding.
Yeah.
And it's white, and the sun was coming in from the west and hitting off it. So yeah, I believe in UFOs because I've seen one.
And there's no better evidence than first-hand evidence, isn't there?
And
Really,
you've
it's
got somebody else stood with you, and we did actually
oh
end up.
yeah, shared experiences. Yeah.
Absolutely, and we did end up getting a picture of it, but by the time we got the iPhones out, and it was like a dot, so I have got a picture of a dot in the sky, basically, and I have tried bringing it up, and you can see shape to it, but it's not clear.
Yeah.
It's just not clear.
So so just a reminder to anyone joining at the moment, please just pass your question. Sorry, post your questions in the comments just below this video. Just ask us anything about the paranormal. We've seen a lot, a hell of a lot, and happy to share kind of what we've known so far. But yeah, but in regards to kind of UFOs, I I didn't take it seriously up till very recently, to be honest with you, because I experienced firsthand like what I call the paranormal side of things, which really is just it's yet to be known science, really. If anything, whether it's poltergeist activities or extra dimensional entities or whatever it might be, you just may describe it. There's just simply things we don't understand just yet. But yeah, I kind of bunched the idea of ghosts and the demon thing that I dealt with into one particular box, and I was almost regretful of knowing that because I kind of knew this information and I wanted just to forget about it and I couldn't. And eventually I kind of gave in. I thought, okay, I know this thing is real now. I need to admit it. As even my friends were seeing these kind of things. But the idea of UFOs was to me was kind of seen as silly because partly it's the influence of film, for example. Think about films like Independence Day. Think about films like
I love
Signs,
that
like
film.
great films though, but they're designed to be scary. They're designed to be kind of like seen as a threat. Like the idea of something being more advanced than us, simply wanting to simply know us and be friendly and equal, seemed like that in itself seemed a fantasy. It seemed more plausible that they should be dangerous. So therefore, I kind of just treated it like, okay, it's just a Hollywood thing. It seems impossible. It's unlikely there'll be anything out there, and yeah, I don't know what happened though, but at some point in the last 2 years, I started to get really into it because I've always had this feeling in my gut for a long time that this isn't the world that we live in. And I know it sounds a bit vague, but it's like the technology that's available to us now and has been for a while is like, I don't know, like 100 years or so behind. I don't feel like what we have access to is really modern technology. Even like this wonderful computer that I'm on right now, these amazing wireless, earbuds, and these are amazing things. And I myself don't know how they work. I'm not trained in the area. I'm not technologically trained, but I just always had this gut feeling like we've been held back by something, and I couldn't explain it. I thought, for years I had this feeling, but it made no sense because I don't believe that aliens exist. It seems silly. So why do I have this feeling? Is it linked to that? But long story short, I started to watch the Dr. Greer presentations, and you could argue as to whether he's genuine or not. I'm more towards the genuine now. I started out kind of a bit 50-50, but he's a bit of a prima donna. There's no doubt about that. I think his ego's gone a little bit too high, I think, in dealing with this whole disclosure thing. But it's his initial conversations, his frankness, and the way that he describes certain things match this feeling that I've always had. And that's when I began to think, hang on, somebody else is saying this thing. I haven't said this to anyone. And his thing was about the idea that ultimately we've had access to certain technology for well over 100 years, um, and we've been visited by things for thousands of years. It was only until like the last 100 years or so, due to a certain event, where we acquired certain technology from beyond that had landed or crashed here, and we've used that technology to reverse engineer whatever they've been using to propel these vehicles through space. And I know this sounds completely mad, but I'm going on certain logic from things that I've learned so far. But basically, his thing goes on the fact that they discovered all this amazing technology and learned from it, and were able to reverse engineer certain like anti gravity technology, for example, or the technology that generates kind of almost infinite energy from nothing with no input. I mean, literally no input. The things that would revolutionize mankind. The idea is like he goes along this theory that it was held behind for fear that other countries will access this technology, and then power will be with everybody, both literally and metaphorically, be with everybody. It'll be like everybody would have access to free technology that wouldn't damage the planet, to have a better understanding of the universe, to no longer feel the need to fight each other. And over time, like he kind of released more of these presentations, I began to think it's really weird what he's saying, and I've had this weird thought in my head all my life, and then it just began to propel itself. And yeah, like I think there's a documentary I watched recently. He did it. He was involved in it, called The Lost Century, and it's simply the summation of that. Basically, like you know, we've lost a century in terms of technological progress because a certain few individuals have withheld that from the rest of the world. Because it seems to be like the age old, the mindset of mankind is to rule by fear, basically. So it could be fear through religions, or fear through making up certain myths and legends, and just whatever it may be. And oh, we got a message there. And yeah, it seems to be like that's just another way in which we seem to be withheld. I mean, I might be completely wrong. It might just be a complete misjudgment on my part, but there's just so much evidence going on right now that seems to allude to the fact that okay, now the cat is kind of slowly moving out of the bag now, and more people are witnessing certain things which align with what Dr. Greer and many others have been saying. And yeah, it's almost like okay, well, government has now said. Well, I think it now almost admitted to itself, really. Okay, we know this is coming out. Okay, let's divert the narrative. Like previously, mankind was controlled through different fear-based narratives through different mediums. Could this be another opportunity to invoke fear? So through Hollywood, for example, things like like say, Independence Day, Signs, and other films. The Fifth Kind as well is another great film. Very scary as well. Um, just to promote that fear narrative that okay, should we ever come into contact with them, we must fear them immediately because it's so much easier to control people when they're afraid. And Dr. Greer seems to propose the opposite, that okay, well, just by the sheer fact that a technologically advanced civilization could be so advanced that they were able to travel thousands of light years across space, through time itself even, to arrive here, would have technology so powerful that they could delete Earth within milliseconds. You would have thought if they were dangerous, we wouldn't be here at this point. So it does indicate the potential that, okay, well, you can evolve to a point where you see above war, you see above, hatred of each other, whether it be based on your gender or assigned, perceived race or whatever clothes you wear, whatever that they've evolved far beyond. So, I mean, I find it all quite exciting now. So this whole UFO thing seems to be interlinked with this like age-old human history thing, and I find it all quite fascinating. Like I say, it could be proven wrong in a few years' time that it could just be like another narrative set by another person. But I can't tell you everything here, though. But there are so many links that I've seen that align with
I
this.
say something.
I find it exciting, really. Yeah, of course.
Um, you talk about them coming across thousands of miles. I don't think they do. I think they're interdimensional. I don't believe that they're traveling vast miles across universes. I think they're just literally popping in and out of dimensions. The person that has most impressed me since we've been doing this, I think,
Yeah.
is shout out to Malcolm Robinson from Scotland, who is
Oh,
just
yeah. He's awesome.
he's absolutely awesome. And what he doesn't know isn't worth knowing. And he's also a very, very interesting guy to listen to as well when it comes to UFO. I don't think, he's very realistic, nice guy that we've had on. Have we got any more? Because any more questions? Because time's getting on.
No, we'll go on for a few more minutes. Are you okay if we go till 1:30, Christine?
Yeah, that's fine.
And we'll kind of
What
round
other
up anyway. Because like I say, it's
questions?
our first session, so we weren't quite sure like how things would go.
What other questions have you got?
Just playing them out for you. There's Oh yeah. So another one I was kind of pre-sent in was how did you both meet? Basically, it's we're two different people from two different walks of life, I suppose. Anyway, so like the question is like, how did we both meet? Do you want me to answer that? Would you like to answer it?
Well, we both met online at a kind we another mutual interest in mediumship, and that's where we met. Next question. Um, yeah, it was as simple as that. We just got on. Um, yeah, we just got on.
No, that's pretty.
We have this shared love of the paranormal and wanting to find out more about it and bringing it out to other people. So, any more questions?
There's nothing really much more come through. I mean, I wasn't expecting many people to watch this. This is kind of like our initial test, really. We'll see how this goes. It's a shame I couldn't get this work on TikTok though, because I would have had more of a response anyway. But not to worry, I can fix that for the next one. Um, okay, so are you going to work now? Yeah, so basically, in terms of like people being interested in the paranormal, the unknown, whatever you would, you know, word it, where would you start basically in terms of like getting to know more how that world works? Basically, like, do you have any books you'd recommend, or
Oh,
are there any kind of activities they can kind of take part in so they can get a better understanding, so they can decide for themselves, what works, what doesn't work?
do you know what? I've got so many books, but I'd just say exercise your right to be informed. Find out for yourselves. Go out there. Go on your own adventure. You might want to have a look closer at the UFO thing. Do that. Concentrate on it. You might find that's the love of your life. Go and find for yourself. There's so much information. Listen to people. Talk to people. Get online with people. Um, Not everybody's gonna, be, it might not be a place where you want to stay. Move on, but find out for yourself. Um, Books, it depends what you want to read. There's some wonderful books about the spirit world that I could recommend, but equally, I could recommend books about other aspects of the paranormal. I would just say, if it doesn't feel right for you, don't do it. Feel your way through it. There's a lot of poo out there, to be honest. You know that you look at. Really? Really? There are false mediums out there, especially, unfortunately, on TikTok. Yes, there is, and I've seen a
Yeah.
few of them, and, they're incorrigible, absolutely. Ignore them, walk on. Um, when they're not getting the ticks and the likes, they won't be doing the stuff that they're doing. There are genuine people out there, genuine people that want to share their knowledge. Like I say, Malcolm Robinson and other people we've had on, the guys from the other Paranormal, great people come on and talk about stuff. They're the people to listen to, the
Oh,
ones
totally.
where you feel, comfortable. Greg and, oh crikey, sorry, I can't remember the other guy's name.
Oh, Greg and Ash from Pursuit of
Yeah,
Paranormal.
I mean,
That's a nice channel to follow. Actually, I do like those guys. They're very
absolutely.
genuine.
Yeah, recommend it. Um, and they come along, they talk, and we've had people like Siobhan and other people come along. They've all got some, they're genuine people, they are
Yeah,
people that, have experienced stuff, and they're not nutcases, you know.
yeah,
Find it for yourself, because nobody can give you um the evidence, in the sense of, I can say something, but it might not resonate with somebody else. You've got to find it for yourself. And one day the
yeah,
light bulb goes, do you know what? There is summer
yeah.
happening.
But it's
But
just
yeah, just
like,
keep at it. It's a great journey. It really is.
yeah. Oh, it is. It's just all just a bit about being open to the world and being okay with discovering things that you disagree with and discovering, of course, things that you do agree with. It's about just learning to just absorb information and just decide for yourself, really, because that was quite my journey kicked off really like weirdly. It was actually came from me watching a film. Because basically, I was part of a religion years ago, and it wasn't quite accepting of people like myself with the experiences that we've had. And I was really grappling with it for a while. And it was actually watching the film Donnie Darko. Have you ever watched that film,
Yeah,
Christine?
yeah, 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 yeah.
It's a weird one. It's a real
It is.
weird one though, but it's such a good film. It's so clever and it's so layered with certain theories. But basically, I was grappling with okay, accepting what I had seen, poltergeist activities about certain possessions and demonic entities, like I say, and but the church I was part of, just like I say, wouldn't accept me for that, and I just felt like I was at odds with the world. Basically, like I felt like I hated myself and I was impure and I was horrible. But I watched, Donnie Darko, directed by Richard Kelly, and it's about Donnie, who is kind of like a disjointed teenager at that precipice of like becoming a man. He's trying to understand his own life, the way the world works, and through this bizarre contact with this entity called Frank, he simply calls it Frank the Rabbit. It's a very scary thing that appears in front of him. It all turns out it kind of develops and it kind of develops into the story that links into kind of time travel as well, and that's kind of like a thing in itself. But there's one particular conversation that Donnie had partway through the film where he was in this kind of lecture of sorts, and his teacher was being influenced by this positivity influencer, let's just say, like, and she simply said, "Okay, well, I'm going to draw a line on this board. One end is fear, one end is love, and I'm going to propose a theoretical situation, and I want you to put a dot on either the end of fear and love. Basically, you only have two options." And what was proposed to him was this theoretical scenario where, okay, well, Donnie discovers a wallet on the ground and chooses to keep some money for himself. And what does he do after that? Basically, like, return it to the owner. And it's kind of saying basically, what kind of reaction is that? Basically, like, is that right? Is that wrong? What do you do with that? And he just got irritated at the question in itself. Like he said, well, if I was to take that money and say give it to my sister who need the money for food, for example, or gave it to a homeless person, that theoretically is stealing, but it's giving to another person that may need it more. Could I give the wallet back? Could I keep the wallet? Could I mean, I could hand that wallet into the local police station, for example. There's so many different thoughts that can go around it as to whether it's right or wrong. He says basically, I can't put this single situation on a fear and love response. He said life in itself has such complexity that I can't simply just narrow things down because then I feel like I'm not learning anything. I feel like I'm not growing. That's the kind of the summary of the argument. But his teacher simply says, put the uh, the dot on the board or fail the exam. Basically, it's as simple as that. And he just refuses to and ends up insulting her and walks out and gets sent to the principal's office. But basically, like, it's that conversation that I watched, I observed. I felt that exactly hit the nail on the head. Basically, I was trying to be something of many different levels, but I couldn't fit into this either this or this response. I felt like life has such grander beauty. And from that point, basically, I decided to leave the religion that I was part of then and go on my own journey. And I didn't know anything about these higher concepts beyond what had been, I've been indoctrinated. Oh, sorry, I can't say that word. Indoctrinated into, and these high concepts were like alien to me. I didn't know where to start. So over the years, began to kind of watch different lectures, but it really kind of kicked off when I started to get into watching lectures by Jordan Peterson. And people may argue as to whether they think he's good or bad, whatever it is, though. But I know where he's coming from. I know kind of his thought process. I read 12 Rules for Life, and eventually I read Beyond Order, and it just got really addictive, like reading his books, because basically it just introduced me to another way of thinking, like an analytical way of thinking. Can I remove myself from a situation and break things down into segments to figure out why do I feel this way, for why do I feel that way? And it's that process, it's the process that he introduces in the book, in these books, that helped me to analyze my paranormal experiences. And through breaking them down, basically, like, what's real, what's not real, what can I be okay, comfortable with, help me to be less afraid. And kind of, yeah, watching these lectures and doing these things kind of led me on to kind of just wanting to know more about the world. Like, there's such a wider world out there of different opinions. And I watched lectures by yeah, I think Ricky Gervais was one, and yeah, Stephen Fry, like being a famous atheist. Like, obviously, I was in a religious institution, getting to know atheism. That's another, like, an area that I don't know much about. I want to know where they're coming from. I have more respect for them now. And yeah, basically, I just kept reading and reading and just watching and observing. And the more that I knew, the more I felt like more of a complete person, because I had a better understanding of the world around me. And it doesn't mean whether I subscribe to all of the ideas being presented to me, but I just knew more about the world. I studied a bit more about Judaism, about Buddhism, about Hinduism, just different beliefs, different concepts, just understanding more. I realized, like, yeah, we're in this tiny little blip in the space. We barely understand all that's around us. We spend so much of our time kind of fencing things in within the normal world. Obviously, outside of that, we have the paranormal. Once you knock down those barriers, like, the knowledge that you can acquire, that's all free for all of us to make use of. Like, it's a life changing thing. And that's why I like to kind of share my way of thinking, like, through this podcast too. It's just like, okay, let's break things down. Let's normalize the conversation. We're not here to judge you. We're not here to make fun of you. All that stuff. So yeah, simply put, like, my answer to the question is simply just get reading, get experiencing. Like, as Christine says, just trust your instincts and feel around and make mistakes, and ask people questions. It's like, I also even remember, like, a few years ago when I was going through that process at the time when I was watching that film. I had this conversation with a security guard, and yeah, so it's when I was working at I think it was home base. I think it was, yeah, it was home base. And I was at the checkouts, just like having a really miserable night. And this man kind of came over to me. You could tell I was feeling really grumpy because I hated my job, quite frankly. I was just miserable, serving miserable customers. And he came over to me, said, "Oh, I've got something for you." And he bought me like a chocolate bar out of the vending machine just to cheer me up there, because he could see I was looking a bit glum. And he sat down next to me, and we just had a good chat, basically. And I learned that he was a Hindu himself. I asked him, like, you know, what do these things mean, basically, and asked him just to explain to me, like, from his experience and his understanding, like, the way he sees the world. I mean, he even talked to me about the idea of jinn, and, like, the idea of spirits being in a certain way, and it kind of aligned in a way to what I knew I had been experiencing firsthand myself. And just having that conversation, I felt so enlightened. But that man, he seemed so genuinely happy that I was asking something of him that he clearly wouldn't normally talk about. Like, and it's just knowing the people of the world. It's like knowing the opinions, knowing the philosophy available to you. Like, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of years of human history about all the ideas and thoughts that are available to us. And some of those thoughts have changed and evolved over time. Some of the things we decided were right somewhere we're wrong. Just getting to know. And like knowledge is your power, really. Like knowledge infuses your intent, and your intent it just adjusts your vibration and protects you against these entities that we don't fully just understand just yet. So yeah, that's my big spiel. I think the coffee's kicking in now after all that. So see if we can find one final question, and we'll just round off for tonight. So yeah, thank you, Christine, for being here a little bit later than expected. But
No,
like I
you're
say, it's our first one, so we're just experimenting. So I want to ask you, this is a question actually from me, from me to you, Christine. Like looking at your entire life and the things that you've done through your life, basically, if you were to leave a message for the world, after whenever your time comes, basically, and you move on to your next adventure, like just like I will do too. Like, is there a message you would love to leave for the world? Something that resonates with you that you think could help future generations.
yeah, and it's really, really simple. Be kind. It really is. When with kindness, if we did everything with kindness, the world would be such a better place. It would alter the vibration that we exist on. At the moment, I don't have to go into details, but we know there's a lot of going on in the world, mainly with governments. And I believe those kind of vibrations are bad. And I've noticed as well online, people are just eating each other over
Yeah,
stuff, and I got trolled the other week by somebody, which was quite amusing. Um, it's like all of a sudden we can all be angry at each other. Why not try being kind? If if we see something or we experience something, um, rather than say something, just be kind. And if you can't be kind, don't say anything, because I do believe that alters our vibration. I mean, earlier on today, for instance, I got a bit annoyed about something, and it was like, "Ugh," and I realized I was feeling all sort of, yeah, just be kind. And that's to everybody, kind to animals, kind to the planet. We've forgotten all of those things. We live on this amazing, amazing planet. We've got a beautiful world, or it could be better. We've got forests and glades and sea and all the rest of it. Be kind to it. We're hurting it. Be kind to animals. Don't go and kick the dog. There's so much anger, and I don't like the way that feels. I don't like the way that
yeah,
it feels more angry than it used to. And I'm sure that's a drip down effect we're seeing.
yes,
I really do believe it. And it's up to us, the people, to go, fuck you, sorry, you people in power,
yeah,
go away. Us people, don't matter whether we live here or we live in Ukraine or India or wherever, we all just want to live in peace. And yet a certain amount of people make us want to fight each other. And that worries me. So be kind.
yeah. No, I'd definitely say similar. It's like
Yeah,
yeah. So I suppose it's like hate and anger is the absence of knowledge often
I
because
believe so. I believe,
more often than not, if you have two opposing views,
yeah,
it's not a big thing. It's not a new thing. You don't have to be enemies because you don't agree.
absolutely.
People have long forgotten that. Like, I like the color blue. Okay, I like the color green. Okay, well, if you like the color green, then why do you hate orange? And okay, if you like the color blue, then why do you hate purple? It's like you can assume so much. Like, ask each other questions,
Gets
talk to each other, but
crazy,
it,
doesn't it?
don't forget that you're not automatically an enemy. So
Yeah,
just keep asking questions. Like, yeah, I was kind of scorned from an early age for asking questions. Like so at school, I'd always ask, why do we do things a certain way? Why are we expected to do things a certain way? But a lot of what we do is just okay. Well, that's just tradition.
yeah,
It's just the way we do things. It's not a good enough reason. Like if we always stick to certain so-called traditions, then we don't evolve. I mean, I can understand appreciating certain traditions. Like it's like, for example, wearing certain clothes on certain occasions is a very beautiful thing. I get that. That's part of our human history, though. But I'm talking about tradition in terms of attitude.
yeah,
It wasn't that long ago when women couldn't vote, for example. that's just the way
absolutely.
it was back then. We just accept it. Don't ask about that. It took a movement of amazing, quite a big movement of amazing people
Well, equally,
to really push that through.
you look at the gay movement, all those years ago that started saying no.
Yeah,
You know, at one time it was, they were the brunt of jokes. They were banged up in prison. Often died. But now
yeah,
we wouldn't do that to somebody. We're constantly evolving, and that hopefully we're evolving in a good direction where we will one day all put down our guns. I think everybody should have a near-death experience, because once you are, or an out-of-body experience, once you've been outside your body and you know that you can live outside that body and you're conscious and aware of everything, you experience a different level of consciousness. And I don't think anybody can go to war if they've had that kind of experience, because they know they can't die. It's just, it's a ridiculous thing that we shoot each other up, and then a year later they're all sitting around a table making deals with each other. It's an insanity. Stop the war. That's the other thing I'd say. Stop war.
yeah. These things ultimately, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can never speak in these things completely though. But I've yet to see a war that's ever been won.
No.
What's left?
Do you know, I've been on this planet for 68 years, and in that time, there hasn't been a year where there isn't been a conflict in some part of the world. Vietnam, I remember that happening. That was horrendous. And then that ends. There's another one breaking out here. There's another one breaking out there, and it's just like, stop, because
Yeah,
why are you doing this to yourselves?
I
Yeah,
know. This is kind of coming from the grandson of a Holocaust survivor. My granddad coming from Treblinka in Poland back in the day, like stuff that he would have seen, and like if he would see what's going on now in the world, it's like
mm,
I know like the Holocaust isn't the only terrible thing that's happened in around that time in history as well. Other things happen too. But when people have go through certain things and that we make certain agreements and promises, like following that we should never stoop that low again, then hey presto, we do it again a few years later. Like,
absolutely. What is wrong
and
with us?
it's
What is wrong with
yeah,
the human race that they can't look back a few short years and go, "Yeah, that wasn't a good idea, was it?"
yeah.
We won't
It's
do
because
that. Try
it's our systems and influences that seem to kind of promote certain people in certain positions,
Yeah, yeah,
endanger certain countries. But
yeah.
anyway, well, I'll round up this conversation anyway. So yeah, thank you, Christine, for being here. And
Oh, well,
just as a reminder, if anybody has any questions, feel free just to keep on asking them. We'll follow up and maybe respond in the chat, or we'll do like a follow up, another Q&A at some point in the future. But also, just again as a reminder, we're collecting money for Macmillan Cancer Support, and we'll do other charities in the future. But for now, we're just starting with these guys. So there's a QR link here. There's a link in the chat below. If you have anything to give, feel free to do so, whatever you choose to do. But yeah, they're a charity quite close to my heart, quite frankly. They've helped a lot of people that I know and loved. And like I say, to give people a dignified end is a noble cause in itself. So yeah, well, thank you for watching. Those people who have joined us on this journey, and I'm hoping this will be the first of many. I didn't know what I was doing the entire time. Quite frankly, I've never done this live thing before. It's just nice to have a good conversation. And yeah, we have some amazing stories coming up, and some future full episodes for Paranormal Perspectives. So yeah, stay tuned as we normalize the paranormal, I suppose. You guys take care. Bye,
bye.
Christine. Have a nice night.
You too.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao.
Bye.
There you go. Stop now.
Oh, thank goodness. Where are you? I still can't see you.
You can't see me. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I